I never thought my life would take such an unexpected turn. It all began one quiet evening when I was sitting on my porch sipping coffee and watching the neighborhood come alive under the dim glow of the streetlights. I had just moved into this new neighborhood a month ago, hoping for a fresh start after a messy breakup. Everything seemed peaceful, almost too perfect, until the night my neighbor, Liam, knocked on my door. Liam was the kind of man you'd notice right away. Charismatic, confident, and always flashing a smile that made people feel at ease. He lived just across the street, and over the past few weeks we had exchanged casual greetings and small talk. But that night, there was something different in his demeanor. His eyes carried a weight I hadn't seen before. "Hey, sorry to bother you so late," he started, his voice unusually soft. "Do you have a moment to talk? It's important." I hesitated but nodded, gesturing for him to come inside. As I closed the door behind him, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Liam sat down on my couch, fidgeting with his hands as though trying to find the right words. "I'm not sure how to say this, but..." He paused, looking at me with a mix of guilt and desperation. "There's something I need your help with, something that stays just between us." I raised an eyebrow, curious yet cautious. "Okay, what is it?" He took a deep breath, leaning forward. "I've been watching you. I've noticed you. You're different from anyone else around here. And I think you're the only person I can trust with this." His words sent a chill down my spine. What could he possibly mean? Was this a confession or something darker? Before I could respond, Liam lowered his voice, almost whispering, "I need you to pretend to be my wife for just one night." My heart skipped a beat. "What?" "I know it sounds crazy," he continued, "but my business partner is visiting tomorrow and he thinks I'm married. It's complicated, but if he finds out I lied, everything I've worked for will fall apart." I stared at him, struggling to process what I had just heard. Was this some kind of joke? Or was Liam truly desperate enough to ask his neighbor, a woman he barely knew, to play such a bizarre role? The silence between us grew heavier as I tried to make sense of his request, but deep down, I knew this was just the beginning of something much bigger and much more dangerous. I couldn't sleep that night. Liam's words echoed in my mind, refusing to let me rest. Pretend to be his wife? The idea was absurd, yet his desperation seemed so genuine that I couldn't shake the thought. I replayed the conversation in my head, questioning everything, his intentions, his sincerity, and most importantly, why he chose me. The next morning I found myself staring out the window, watching Liam's house. A sleek black car pulled into his driveway, and a man in a sharp suit stepped out. He was older, with a stern expression that radiated authority. This must be the business partner, I thought. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Liam. "Please, I know this is asking a lot, but I need you. Come over when you're ready. Everything depends on this." My hands trembled as I set the phone down. I didn't reply immediately. Instead, I paced the room, torn between curiosity and unease. Why would he risk so much on a stranger? And why did it feel like there was more to this story than he was letting on? Finally, I made up my mind. Throwing on a simple dress and brushing my hair, I tried to push my doubts aside. If nothing else, I'd get some answers. When I arrived at Liam's house, he greeted me at the door with a mix of relief and nervousness. "You came," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I still don't know why," I replied, stepping inside. The living room had been transformed. Candles flickered on every surface, soft music played in the background, and framed photos of us, yes, us, were scattered around the room. My stomach dropped. He had staged an entire life, complete with fabricated memories. "Liam, this is insane," I said, my voice rising. "Please just go along with it," he begged. "I'll explain everything later. I promise." Before I could argue further, the man in the suit entered the room. His sharp eyes scanned me from head to toe. "So this is the lovely wife you've been telling me about," he said, extending a hand. I forced a smile and shook his hand, my mind racing. "Yes, I'm Sarah. It's nice to meet you." "Sarah, he said with a smirk, his gaze lingering a little too long. "Liam's a lucky man." The evening passed in a blur of forced smiles and carefully chosen words. Every moment felt like a performance, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Not just with Liam, but with his business partner, too. As the man prepared to leave, he turned to me, his expression darkening. "It was lovely meeting you, Sarah. But let me give you a piece of advice. Be careful who you trust. Liam isn't always the man he pretends to be." His words sent a chill down my spine. I watched him leave, my mind racing with questions. What had I just gotten myself into? Liam closed the door and turned to me, his face pale. "Thank you," he said, his voice trembling. I crossed my arms, glaring at him. "No more lies, Liam. What's really going on?" But before he could answer, the sound of glass shattering from the kitchen made us both freeze. The sound of glass shattering sent a jolt through me. Liam's face turned ghostly pale as we both rushed toward the kitchen. My heart was pounding, and I could feel the blood drain from my face as I thought about the man who had just left. Could he have come back? When we reached the kitchen, my eyes fell on the source of the noise, a shattered glass on the floor. But what caught my attention wasn't just the mess. It was the figure standing near the counter. A woman, dressed impeccably in a deep red dress, turned toward us with a smirk that could freeze fire. "Well, Liam," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm, "this is how you introduce me to your wife?" I looked at Liam, confusion and anger building in me. His jaw was clenched, his fists tightening at his sides. "Claire, what are you doing here?" he snapped. "Claire." The name rolled around in my head like a bitter pill. She tilted her head, her gaze darting toward me. "And you must be Sarah," she said, emphasizing my name with mock sweetness. "Liam, who is this?" I asked, my voice trembling. He opened his mouth to respond, but Claire cut him off. "Oh, he hasn't told you about me." "Shocking." She walked closer, her heels clicking on the tiled floor. "I'm his ex-fiancée. We were supposed to get married last year until, well, let's just say Liam has a knack for disappearing when things get too serious." I turned to Liam, the weight of her words sinking in. "Is that true?" His silence was deafening. Claire chuckled bitterly, pouring herself a glass of wine from the bottle on the counter. "I'll take that as a yes." "This isn't the time for this," Liam said, his voice strained. "Claire, you need to leave." "Oh, I will," she replied, taking a sip of wine. "But not before I warn your little wife here about the mess she's walking into. You're not as charming as you think, Liam. And trust me, sweetheart," she said, turning to me. "This man has more skeletons in his closet than you could ever imagine." Her words stung, but before I could respond, the doorbell rang. My stomach dropped. Another visitor. Liam groaned, running his hands through his hair. "Stay here," he muttered, heading toward the door. Claire leaned in closer to me, her voice low. "You should run while you can. Liam's lies always have a way of catching up to him." I wanted to respond, to demand answers, but the sound of raised voices from the front door stopped me. Liam was arguing with someone, his tone growing more frantic by the second. Claire and I exchanged a glance before moving toward the noise. When we reached the hallway, the sight before us was enough to knock the air out of my lungs. Standing in the doorway was another man, one who bore a striking resemblance to Liam. Same sharp features, same piercing eyes, but this man radiated an intensity that Liam lacked. "Liam," the man said, his voice cold and calculated. "You really thought you could hide from me? From us?" Liam froze, his face a mix of fear and exhaustion. "Lucas, this isn't the time." Lucas, his brother? My mind reeled as the pieces started to fall into place. Liam had told me nothing about his family or his past. Lucas stepped inside, his gaze landing on me. "So, this is your wife, huh? Does she know what you've done?" "I don't know anything," I blurted out, my voice shaking. "But I think it's time someone told me." Lucas smirked, crossing his arms. "Oh, sweetheart, you're in for a real treat. Liam's secrets run deep and you've just scratched the surface." The tension in the room was suffocating. Liam's face was flushed with frustration as he stepped between Lucas and me, his voice firm. "That's enough, Lucas. You don't know anything about my life now, so stay out of it." Lucas raised an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed. "Oh, but I do, little brother. You think running away from the family and hiding here makes you free? You don't get to walk away from your mistakes that easily." I looked at Liam, my mind spinning. What is he talking about? What mistakes? Liam turned toward me, his expression softening. "Sarah, it's not what you think. It's exactly what she thinks, Lucas interrupted, his voice cold. Why don't you tell her the truth, Liam, or should I? Lucas, stop, Liam warned, his tone low. But Lucas was relentless, his piercing gaze locked onto me. Your charming husband here didn't just leave the family business, Sarah. He left with something that didn't belong to him, a hefty sum of money. And let's just say, there are people who aren't too happy about it. My breath caught. What? Liam, is this true? Liam clenched his jaw, his eyes filled with guilt. It's not as simple as he's making it sound. Yes, I took the money, but it wasn't for me. It was for someone who needed it more, someone who deserved a second chance. Spare me the hero act, Lucas said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Do you know what kind of heat you've brought on us? The people you stole from, they don't forgive, Liam. They don't forget. I took a step back, my heart pounding. So what does this mean for us, for me? Lucas's expression softened slightly as he looked at me. It means you're in danger. They'll come for him, and anyone close to him. You need to leave, Sarah, before it's too late. No, Liam said firmly, his voice rising. She's not going anywhere. I'll fix this. I'll make it right. How, Liam? Lucas snapped. Do you think you can just walk in and hand the money back? It doesn't work like that, and you know it. I felt like the ground was slipping out from under me. The man I thought I knew had been keeping secrets, dangerous secrets, and now my life was caught in the crossfire. Claire, who had been silently watching the exchange, finally spoke. Well, this just got interesting, she said, her tone laced with amusement. Looks like you've really outdone yourself this time, Liam. Stay out of this, Claire, Liam snapped, his patience wearing thin. Oh, I'm staying, she replied, smirking. This is too good to miss. Suddenly, there was a loud knock at the door, followed by the sound of heavy footsteps. My heart raced as I turned toward Liam. Who is that? Liam's face turned pale and Lucas's expression darkened. They're here, Lucas muttered. Before I could process what was happening, Liam grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the back door. We need to leave, now, he said urgently. What? No, I need answers, I protested, panic setting in. There's no time, Liam insisted. I'll explain everything, but we have to go. Please, Sarah, trust me. I hesitated, torn between my need for the truth and the growing sense of danger. The pounding on the door grew louder, and I could hear voices shouting from the other side. Lucas stepped forward, his expression grim. I'll buy you some time. Just go. And Liam, don't screw this up. Liam nodded, his grip on my hand tightening as he led me toward the back door. My mind was racing, fear and uncertainty swirling inside me. What had I gotten myself into? As we slipped out into the night, the weight of Liam's secrets bore down on me. But one question loomed above all others. Could I trust him to protect me? Or was I just another pawn in his dangerous game? The cool night air hit me like a wave as we ran through the backyard, the sounds of shuffling footsteps and shouting growing louder behind us. My heart raced, every muscle in my body screaming for answers, for a way out of the chaos. But there was no escaping it now. Liam pulled me through a narrow alley, his grip firm around my wrist. His face was grim, but there was something else in his eyes, something I couldn't quite place. Desperation, maybe? Or fear? Where are we going? I asked, my voice trembling. To a safe house, Liam replied, his voice strained. It's the only place we can hide right now. I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting to see a crowd of people chasing after us, but the street behind us was empty. What if they find us? What if I can't handle this anymore? Liam stopped abruptly and turned to face me. His expression softened, a hint of regret in his eyes. Sarah, listen to me, he said, his voice low and urgent. I know I've put you in danger. I know everything is falling apart, but I swear to you, I never wanted this to happen. You're the last person I ever wanted to hurt. Tears welled up in my eyes as his words hit me harder than I expected. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that the man I had married wasn't the same person who had dragged me into this nightmare, but the fear in my heart told me otherwise. I don't know if I can keep doing this, Liam, I whispered, shaking my head. I don't know if I can trust you anymore. His eyes widened, and for a moment, I saw the vulnerability he had been hiding all this time. I understand, he said softly. But please, just give me one more chance. Let me make it right. Let me prove to you that I'm not the man you think I am. We stood there in the alley, the night air thick with tension. I could feel the weight of his words pressing on me, pulling me in two different directions. My heart longed to believe in him, but my mind kept screaming at me to run, to escape before it was too late. Before I could respond, a car screeched to a halt in front of us. I froze, panic flooding my veins as the door swung open, revealing none other than Lucas. "You really thought you could get away?" he sneered, stepping out of the car. "You're not safe here. None of us are." I glanced at Liam, fear creeping into my chest. What does he mean? Liam's face went pale as he stepped in front of me. "Get in the car now," he ordered, his voice low but commanding. I hesitated, my mind racing. Was this a trap? Was Lucas playing us all along? Before I could decide, a loud crash sounded from the direction we had come, followed by the sound of heavy boots pounding the pavement. Liam turned to me, his eyes wide with fear. "Go, now!" We jumped into the car, and before I could even catch my breath, the engine roared to life. The car sped down the street, weaving through traffic as the reality of our situation hit me harder than ever. I was running for my life. But was I running from the man I loved, or was I running towards something even more dangerous than I could ever imagine? As the car raced through the night, I glanced at Liam, my heart torn between love and fear. The life I thought I had was slipping away, and I had no idea where it would lead me. But I knew one thing for sure. Nothing would ever be the same again. And that's when it hit me. There was more to Liam's secrets than I could have ever prepared for. And if I was going to survive this, I had to uncover every single one of them before it was too late.